York City, 1946. A child vanishes. The year is 1946. World War II has just ended, leaving its indelible mark on the world. The scars of conflict are still fresh, a stark reminder of the human capacity for both destruction and resilience. In the ancient city of York, England, life was slowly returning to a semblance of normalcy. Amongst the cobblestone streets and medieval architecture, a sense of hope was rekindled, a yearning for peace and stability after years of turmoil. Yet on a crisp autumn afternoon, this fragile peace was shattered, and the city's dark underbelly was exposed. The disappearance of 4-year-old Norma Marie Dale would send shockwaves through the community, leaving an enduring legacy of fear, uncertainty, and grief. This is a story about a family torn apart by an unspeakable tragedy, a community grappling with the unthinkable, and a mystery that continues to haunt generations. It is a story about the loss of innocence, the fragility of life, and the enduring power of hope in the face of despair. Join us as we delve into the unsolved case of Norma Dale, exploring the details of her disappearance, the investigation that followed, and the lingering questions that remain unanswered to this day. The Dale family, Norma Marie, and life in York. Norma Marie Dale was a bright and cheerful little girl. She brought joy to everyone who knew her. Her infectious laughter echoed through the hallways of their modest home on Clifton Park Avenue. Norma was the heart of the Dale family, the youngest of 3 children, doted on by her parents and older siblings. Life in post-war York was a tapestry woven with resilience and hardship. The Dale family, like many others, faced the challenges of a nation rebuilding itself. Yet amidst the rationing and uncertainty, there was love, laughter, and the simple joys of childhood. Norma loved to play with her dolls, her imagination knowing no bounds. She was particularly fond of her red shoes, a gift from her grandmother. These shoes, with their shiny buckles and patent leather, were her pride and joy, often accompanying her on her imaginary adventures. Her days were filled with the simple pleasures of childhood, playing hopscotch with her friends, listening to her mother read stories, and the comforting routine of family life. Norma's world was small, safe, and familiar. Her days were spent within the comforting confines of her neighborhood, a close-knit community where everyone knew each other's names. It was a time when children could play freely, their laughter echoing through the streets, their biggest worries revolving around games of tag and who got the largest slice of cake. However, this idyllic existence was about to be shattered, leaving behind a void that could never be filled. 21st September 1946, a day etched in sorrow. September 21st, 1946 dawned like any other Saturday in York. The air was crisp with the promise of autumn's chill. The streets were coming alive with the bustle of weekend errands and leisurely strolls. For the Dale family, it was a day for chores, playtime, and perhaps a visit to the nearby park. Little did they know that this day would be forever seared into their memories, a harrowing reminder of their loss. Norma, full of her usual energy, spent the morning playing in the house. Her mother, busy with household tasks, kept a watchful eye on her daughter. As lunchtime approached, Norma asked if she could go out to play with her friends. Her request was met with a familiar warning, not to stray too far and to be back in time for lunch. With a cheerful wave and a skip in her step, Norma disappeared through the front door, her red shoes flashing in the sunlight. Time seemed to stretch as the minutes turned into an hour. Lunch was ready, but Norma was nowhere in sight. Her mother, her heart pounding with a growing sense of unease, stepped outside and called out her daughter's name. Her voice echoed through the quiet street, but there was no response. Panic began to set in as Mrs. Dale realized that her little girl was missing. Discovery and despair, a community in mourning. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the city, a sense of dread settled over York. Word of Norma's disappearance spread like wildfire through the community. Neighbors, their faces etched with concern, joined the Dale family in their frantic search. Every nook and cranny of the neighborhood was scoured, every garden shed and alleyway meticulously examined. Hope, though dwindling with each passing hour, fueled their desperate efforts. The police were called in, and a full-scale search operation was launched. Volunteers combed through fields, woodlands, and the banks of the River Ouse. Posters with Norma's picture and a description of her appearance were plastered on every street corner, a constant reminder of the missing child. Days turned into nights, and still there was no sign of Norma. The community, united in their grief and desperation, refused to give up hope. Then, on a bleak October morning, 4 weeks after Norma's disappearance, the unthinkable happened. A group of children playing near the York racecourse, a considerable distance from Norma's home, stumbled upon a gruesome discovery. Partially hidden amongst the bushes lay the lifeless body of a young girl. It was Norma. Her bright red shoes, once a symbol of her carefree spirit, were still on her feet, a chilling reminder of the innocence that had been stolen. Whispers in the wind, the investigation and its theories. The discovery of Norma Dale's body sent shockwaves through York, turning the tide of hope into a sea of grief and anger. The community, once united in their search for a missing child, now grappled with the horrifying reality of her fate. The police investigation, met with immense pressure and public scrutiny, swung into full force. Every resource available was dedicated to finding Norma's killer and bringing them to justice. The initial focus of the investigation was on those closest to Norma: family, friends, and neighbors. Each individual was rigorously questioned, their movements on that fateful day meticulously scrutinized. However, no concrete leads emerged, and the investigation hit a wall. Theories began to circulate, whispers of strangers and shadowy figures haunting the streets of York. Some speculated that Norma was the victim of a drifter passing through the city, while others pointed fingers at individuals known to the family, their suspicions fueled by fear and rumor. The lack of physical evidence hampered the investigation. Forensic technology, still in its infancy at the time, offered little help. The absence of witnesses and a clear motive only deepened the mystery surrounding Norma's death. Despite the tireless efforts of the police and the unwavering support of the community, Norma's killer remained elusive, leaving a legacy of unanswered questions and simmering suspicion. The case, though fading from the headlines over time, remained an open wound in the heart of York, a chilling reminder of the darkness that could lurk beneath the surface of their seemingly peaceful city.